Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor. I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Today I wanted to move on to the second section of the DVEI model, which is V for variety. And ultimately, variety, that's a very nebulous term. Seb, what do you mean? Well, ultimately, what I mean by this is it's the variety in things that you do with the other person. Yeah? Obviously, this can be in terms of, as said, a lot of this comes from sex coaching and things like that, and intimacy coaching, and so that can be very much more in regards to positions and things to experiment with and stuff like that. But also in a grander, wider scheme of a relationship, it can mean literally any activity that the two of you or more of you, depending on your lifestyle, do together, and it's the means by which relationships develop. When you're in a relationship with someone, it's the shared memory, shared experiences of doing things and finding things and seeing things and just experiencing things together, which then has those positive memories form, has those over time has the development of closeness and attachment, and knowing that other person well, and so on and so forth. And as a result, it's really important in all aspects of relationships. Not just sex, not just the day to day, not just on things like holidays or big things, or it doesn't matter. Every aspect of your relationship should have a variety of things in it. And this is where predictability becomes a bit of a double-edged sword, because obviously, if you're being predictable, if it's always the same odd thing that you do, Shaun of the Dead, oh well, let's go to the Winchester, all of those, that continual repeated thing, it gets dull, and it does get, even if one person is enjoying it, it gets dull for the other person. If both, it goes back the other way, back and forth numerous times. But the thing is, that does allow for a level of stability, a level of decent understanding and stuff like that. But again, over time, it goes beyond that into just being dull. And so it can be really stable and helpful for people to have that predictable element. But even then, after a time, you're not going to continue to grow and develop that relationship if it's purely sat as being this continually never-ending cycle of the same things. And you live in a world of never-ending possibilities. There is so much to do, so many things to see in terms of art, games, culture, sports you can do together, other activities you can do, places you can go, and obviously that's somewhat dependent on the amount of resources that you have available to you and the amount of time and so on and so forth. But there's, even in the small things, you could be doing, instead of having microwave meals for dinner when you're both tired, you could come home, relax for a little bit, and then try maybe cooking something new between the two of you as a kind of bonding experience, and it would be an interesting thing. But obviously this is something that is far more important early on in a relationship. That variety, that capacity to go out and do things that you've maybe not done before, or things that you have done before that you want to share with someone else that's never done it before. As said, this is how relationships develop, and so you need to do those things early on, especially because otherwise, if this is how relationships develop and you're not doing it, then no development's going to happen, and there's going to be no relationship. It needs to grow from somewhere, and planting the seed and growing it all depends on the initial interaction, but then afterwards the variety of other interactions and other experiences that you follow along with. And it often gets neglected later on in relationships, and that's where predictability sets in. That's where things become a bit of a drudge. Intimacy kind of dries up, and people become more isolated and separated from one another, and that's where you see relationships start to break down. But you need to make sure that it shouldn't be neglected as relationships progress, as they change, because relationships do change over time, obviously, especially if you have children and things like that. That's going to change the dynamic quite substantially, because you're going to have to care for these other lives as well. But that doesn't mean that the variety of activities, the variety of things that you can do to continue to grow your relationship and develop it needs to stop. Maybe they become a little less frequent, but it still means that they can happen. You know, I'm long distance with Hannah. She's the other side of London from me. I've still not, at the time of recording, it's still been about 3 months since I last saw her, and as a result, you know, I don't have the ability to do a wide variety of things with her, and so when we do meet up, we may lament it at times afterwards that we haven't had more time to just cuddle up and relax together. But we end up usually meeting, doing a lot of things together, going out, seeing stuff, trying new things, and like seeing friends and stuff like that, just as well to keep things going, because it's the only chance we get. And you know, the big thing is doing more of what you wouldn't normally do, or doing more of what you don't do. You know, if you're a person that plays a lot of sports, yeah, if you're a couple that play a lot of sports, then and you're always on the go, then you should be maybe taking more time, just quiet time, just chilling out, relaxing, watching movies, you know, vegging out for a bit together as a different experience. You know, if you're people that are always working non-stop, then you know you need to try and take a look at having a break with one another. People who are quite the opposite, you know, very rarely doing things together, as for example me and Hannah, because we're so separate, even though we're communicating all the time, you know, when you do get together, or when you are together, or whatever, however it turns out, you know, do more things. Even that is just going out and seeing friends, you know, going for a walk, whatever else, you know, have those things to do. And then, like, one of the final things that I've got to say on this is that it's usually easy to find a lot of small things that, even if you can't manage to do the big things, there's always a lot of small things that you could do more of, or that you don't do. And so, simply put, you know, take those small things and make them big. If you're going for a walk, turn it into an adventure, turn it into some fun, quiet time between the two of you, just to go out for a walk and enjoy the world around you. You know, if it's going to be a walk, instead of it being a walk down into town, grab Pokemon Go and go hunt Pokemon as you're on your way. Go out into the wider world and go on a bit of a hike instead. You know, there are lots more things that you can do to take those little things that maybe you don't do enough of and just kind of blow them up, just to make it a bigger experience, so that those memories, those positive emotions and things are all encapsulated and kind of added to the relationship again, to help it grow and develop and become more sturdy over time. You know, so obviously on the bar on the graph, which I'm sure I'll get to show you guys eventually anyway. But ultimately, what it comes down to is, if you've got a low variety, then that probably means that you're having a dull time, or you've barely started having a relationship. You know, it's not picked up very much. If you're in the mid, then to be fair, you're probably in the majority to one extent or another, because that middle ground is probably going to be where most people are, purely because of the resources they have, the time, whether or not they've got other people that they need to cater for as part of planning and stuff like that. You know, it's variety, I feel, is one of the harder ones here. In fact, is probably the hardest one from the DVEI model to make a real go of, just because at times the things that you don't do that you should be doing more of involve time, money, other materials and resources that you need, and stuff like that, you know, to actually achieve just doing those things, which, as said, can be really hard and can leave people without much. But then if your variety is higher up, even if it's just like lots of small things that you're doing, you know, jumping between to keep that variety on the higher end, then chances are you're probably, you know, bouncing between various things to continue to generate those new memories, to continue to generate those positive things, new experiences between the two of you, so that you've got more of that shared history as a good kind of fertilizer for that relationship to grow from. Yeah, tell me, guys, what do you think? What do you do to keep things fresh and varied in your relationships? You know, as said in other videos, anything that you guys say, your experiences, your thoughts, the things that you do, they may very well help someone else. So please share them down in the comments. And otherwise, if you found this at all interesting, if you're interested in the rest of this model, then please drop me a like and subscribe for more. And I will see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.